What is going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. I'm BobbyFi, back with my man, Eric Sheets-Haber. We've done golf. We've done basketball. Now we're coming to you with some baseball, which is probably actually the one I'll enjoy, which is very strange for me to say. This basketball slate was a very, I felt like I wish I was going to play a ton or not at all, and it was had me leaning different ways. This baseball slate is interesting because I'm not going to play a ton tonight, but I think it's got a lot of decisions to make. So, Sheets, what are your thoughts? Like, how many lineups you run in, and what are you sort of thinking about for tonight?
Well, so that Mr. Sheets has 40% Harris English, so so it's a pretty decent start over in golf. Except Mr. Sheets also has like 50% Abraham Answer.
That's exactly. So we're the same. Mr. Sheets and Mr. Firestone are on the same boat on this one.
There you go. All right, so you know what? I like I really like this slate because there's I don't want to say different ways you can go. I think it's pretty instructive with respect to pitching, that what type of pitchers you want and where you can pivot and stuff like that. I'm very interested to hear your take on a lot of these guys. So let's get this going.
Yeah, I'm going to say one thing before we do this. I think we need to next week or something, and it's not as much fun for baseball. And if there's weather, you kind of want to look at the weather and stuff. But I realized I was winning a ton of money when we did those NBA before lock shows.
Let's do it.
We should do something. It's hard to do with NBA though. We're doing these ones because now it's all staggered. Like, you can't have a before lock show for everything. But just from a selfish perspective, it was great when we could figure out those last decisions. And also we didn't know about late swaps. There was all kinds of stuff going on, and I kind of missed that. So I think we should do one of these late shows. One of these.
Yeah, days. And the thing is that the baseball, the baseball thing is kind of the late baseball looks are kind of underrated. People are always like to do it for NBA because they get those last minute things, but people, just presume baseball just is what it is. And as we've discussed over the last couple of weeks, so many different times I've cost myself zillions by just not paying attention to what was going on in baseball. Yeah. And it's really funny because, I'll throw it out to them. So I played just a couple of lineups on FanDuel yesterday in baseball, as I had a lot going on in basketball, and maybe literally 3 or 4 lineups at the most. And when I was playing golf or whatever, I just presumed my lineups were going to be fine. And then I saw that the Abraham Toro was scratched, okay, for Houston. So I said, okay, I'll swap him out. I'll put this guy in. And then as the game started, I'm like, whoa. That game was postponed, right? So I swapped all my Abraham Toro into Camargo, right? Who just to hold him for me, you know what I mean? And then okay, whatever. It was one lineup, 2 lineups, and then it was really funny because this morning I listened to the morning grind, and Stevie, same thing. He just didn't even realize that the Atlanta Washington game was postponed or something. Uh-huh. So the point is that baseball also has kind of sneaky upside of doing the late minute things because you get the different lineups and the different, so we should definitely do that. And fortunately, this would probably be the time to do it when the NBA locks earlier, right?
Yeah.
We should do the baseball one. So let's get that on the schedule for sure.
Okay. All right. We'll work that out. Today is not the best night anyway. Maybe we can even talk about it tomorrow. It could be an interesting combo cut sweat whatever show if you had time. If you don't have time, I could always do it myself too.
We'll see how it goes.
Getting my live stuff set up.
We're going to be rooting for Abraham Answer to have a really good round tomorrow.
Yeah. By the way, Aaron Gordon is out, so hopefully we won't have to do any shuffling after the show. Aaron Gordon is still out, and so is
I think I presumed him out when I was doing my stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So right. I'm sharing my screen, and let's get started right away with the Cy Young winner. So Shane Bieber is as you kind of called pretty early on, he's freaking rolling, and and I don't know if I mentioned this before his last start, but the thing that kind of hit me the most, there was one batter a few starts back where guy hit a fly ball to right field, looked like a harmless fly ball to right field, and it was an out, and Bieber was so mad at himself, he just knew that he missed something by a 1/16 of an inch on his movement, and it really got down on himself for a freaking out. You know what I mean? So that when a guy's doing that, that he's freaking locked in. So he is certainly the top pitcher, raw points on the slate, and certainly is decent value also. And he's certainly going to be a major part of what I'm doing. As we get into the slate, though, I think there think you don't have to play him. All right, that's going to be my prelim for like other stuff that's going to come up. On the Cleveland side, I think that Cleveland is one of my top teams to target actually from a hitting perspective today. I have like 1, 2, 3, like kind of 4 top ones and like 3 kind of like ancillary ones. And Cleveland's kind of like my second tier behind 2 other teams. I will go to the switch hitters, to Ramirez and Lindor, Santana, just the normal cast of characters. Now, again, I keep forgetting this, that you mentioned that Reyes is more of a reverse splits guy anyway. So I would definitely use him also. And that's it. I'm not a Trevor Williams dude. I don't think you need him today. And that's where I'm at in this game. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm not playing many lineups, which means I'll probably play Bieber. I understand. I don't care about chalk. I'll care when it matters to certain pitchers. When I have one pitcher who's gonna most likely be the highest scoring pitcher and has the chance to absolutely, like, if you don't have him, you're really not gonna win any money because there's nobody else on this slate that has the same type of upside. I mean, really, I guess.
Are you sure about that?
Okay, no.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about because sometimes you have a guy like Bieber up at the top, and then you have all these kind of like guys that are like pretty good or whatever, but they really can never have his upside. I just feel as though there's like 1, 2, like 3 guys that could put up like 35 points if they get rolling. You know what I mean? So that's the only reason I mentioned.
Like, Bieber can strike out like 15 guys.
I got you, but
it's not that far-fetched. I mean, it is far-fetched. Especially, it's a good lineup for, like, the Pirates don't entirely strike out a ton, but they do have some more strikeouts in their bat than they had in the past. And look, we saw what Savali did to this team last night. You know what I mean? And one of the biggest mistakes I made on yesterday's slate was I talked to you about it. We said it. Do you like Savali at the beginning? I was like, I just don't want to end up getting there.
Yep.
I really like him. And Stevie talked about how he was his favorite pitcher on the slate going on the morning grind. And I'm going, I like everything makes sense. And then I'm hearing other people make fun of it. Everybody else. I listen to too much. I listen to
don't listen to that crap.
It's all nonsense. And you know what? It was for one day I had time to look at the baseball, and I shouldn't have. I'm serious. Actually, for me, the less I look at it, unless there's like a substitution or somebody being out after I set my initial lineups, a lot of times those win. By the way, like my last pull for my main lineup last night, although he did win me money, my other one was Edwin Encarnacion. 2 home runs. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So Bieber's the answer. I'm not into the Cleveland stack myself. I've been on this train forever, and I'm going to stand by it. Trevor Williams, not all terrible. Okay. Yes, he can get a little wild, but he's not like wild like Robbie Ray or something, which is the kind of guys you want to stack against, the really wild guys. But he can get a little wild. He gives up some hard contact, but he hasn't given up a bunch. He's given up 3 home runs in 4 starts this year. He was really good and dominated a great Minnesota offense. He hasn't had an outing that you would have wanted to stack against him with the potential argument of opening day when he wasn't stretched out. And this is sort of the same story we always see with them. Everybody talks about stacking against guys like this, and it's just, for me, it's usually a losing proposition. It doesn't mean I don't like these bats. I also think you have a great pitcher's park compared to some of the other parks you have out there. You've got such great hitting in some other spots, in my opinion. So I personally don't find myself that interested in them, but I do think that Lindor – I hate saying that because when they're hot, they get hot. And Ramirez is so awesome right now. He's like my favorite DFS player when he's like this. Because, like, what does he do last night? He goes 0 for 3, but he goes out there and he steals 2 bases. He walks twice and steals 2 bases. He's just going to run. You know what I mean? He gets you a home run plus by just getting on base. This guy's running all over the place. He's probably going to lead the league in stolen bases this year. So Ramirez would be the priority for me, followed by Lindor. And then I do think that if I didn't like the outfield so much, I think that an awesome one-off or a part of a mini stack would be your man Reyes. I love him. He's the one who profiles to be most likely to hit a home run. I just think there's so many other things that a guy like Ramirez or Lindor bring, especially Ramirez because he runs all the time. So that's the only thing I would add about that. I'm not going to stack him.
Considering how little you're playing tonight, you're not going to play Trevor Williams in like your main lineup, though, right?
Oh, I didn't say I was going to play Trevor Williams. I'm not playing Cleveland against him.
You still want to attack him? Okay.
No. I'm never going to sit here and talk about playing Trevor Williams unless he's like crazy cheap in a weirdly good matchup, which we already have a guy like that. And by the way, I did actually, my first build today that I did, I left my second pitcher spot empty. And I wanted to see what happened if I did the build exactly how I wanted. and it left me with exactly 5,600 at pitcher. So now, because you pointed that out and like reiterated it back to me, I'm going to have to play Trevor Williams at least in the million-person tournament.
All right.
Hey.
Okay. Moving on. You want to move on?
For me, yeah, because he's a 1v1 swap from my other guy.
All right. So Milwaukee, Minnesota. Ooh, dude, I was in the. I told you I only played a couple lineups in FanDuel, but one of them I got really sneaky. I had those three guys from Milwaukee. I had Yelich, what's his name, Garcia, and Braun, and they Braun, yeah. And they did. Was it Braun? Yeah.
Yeah, Braun.
And that was one of them I had with the Bregmans, and it was like really freaking annoying. But I'm not too interested in either of these. I'm not to say too interested. Neither of these teams are making my main hitting guys today. And I think on a different slate, I would have interest in Berrios and Woodruff. I mean, I like playing these guys in general, and I know you and I are kind of more you, but I'm kind of getting involved in this idea of like going after Milwaukee with guys that can strike guys out. So if there weren't so many better options for me, at least, I would probably get to Berrios, but I don't know if I'm going to. And kind of similar to Woodruff, if you want to know the truth. I mean, he's fine. I don't really feel like attacking Minnesota with a pitcher right now in this part of my lifetime. But he's fine. I think either of these guys are fine. I think if I'm playing, a bunch of lineups, these guys are going to get would get some ownership. I think they project okay, but they're just not my favorite of the slate.
Yeah, this is one of those. If I was multi-entering, I think I would actually go really heavy in the large field GPPs. If I was going like 150 entries, I think I would go like 20% of these guys potentially, because I think that there's upside for both of them. But I absolutely don't like the common occurrence enough. You know what I mean? I just think, and I think it's important what you mentioned. Just adding Ryan Braun being back in the Milwaukee lineup does make their lineup a little bit better. When we had Sogard at the top of the order for a while. Like, yeah. I think that and still might see Sogard at the top of the order, but I just don't think that you're just gonna have like a little bit more depth adding a bat like Rick Braun, who's obviously not the player he once was, but is still like capable of doing damage. So I'm not gonna play these guys because I'm not playing enough lineups, but I certainly think that there's an argument for both of them. But and because of it, I don't think I'm gonna get to the bats. I have enough respect for Woodruff. And look, I'm never going to say on an 8-game slate you shouldn't play Minnesota. But even if I was playing tonight on a full thing, I think I would only have like 10% Minnesota or 5% Minnesota stacks even. I don't like the spot for them.
Okay. All right. You want to move ahead?
Yep.
All right. So This is a rough one, man. This Dodgers Seattle game. This is a rough one. On the one hand, I kind of want to play Kershaw.
Me too.
I know that if I play him, I'm going to regret it. But I'm kind of interested in trying it. On FanDuel, I think I might try it, actually. We'll see.
What's his price on FanDuel? That's all right. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah,
he's 10-1 on FanDuel.
What's that?
10-1 on FanDuel.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. Maybe you could talk me off of it.
Yeah.
So many other options. Maybe not that many. But again, I've tried everybody else against Seattle and it hasn't worked out. So maybe Kershaw can get it done for me. Thing is, it's going to be the death of me. I'm not interested in Kikuchi at all. Against the lefty stuff. I am just going to go right back to the Dodgers. And if I'm going to go to Pollock, I'm going to go to Turner, I'm going to go to what's his face, Betts. I'll even play Bellinger, lefty or whatever. I'm just a little stubborn. I just every time I played Kikuchi, and I played him, I've had a lot of success with him. He's always had matchups against crappy teams. That's one thing I will say, and that's why he's always been like kind of a good value play or whatever it is. But I'm kind of into the Dodgers today. I just am. There are other good teams to attack, but for whatever reason, I don't know. I'm not a believer. I think this is You can get the Dodgers. I don't know. I always say this. You know, maybe you get Dodgers at low owned, whatever. You could try it.
The Dodgers are going to be high owned tonight?
I don't know. What the hell do I know?
I think
I hope not, because I'm kind of interested. I'm trying it. I'm going to take the Dodgers. I think they're a big priority for me. If I'm only even playing 5 or 6 lineups, I'm going to. We'll get to this other game in a minute. But we'll right there. I'm going to get Red Sox. I'm going to get and I'm going to get Dodgers. Those would be my 2 priorities, actually.
Yeah, I like the Dodgers. Shocker. I don't think we're going to get low ownership.
But listen, wait. So don't say that for a second, because I don't want everybody to come on and think, okay, just Bobby just likes the Dodgers, because he's talked me off of them. You've talked me off of them a couple of times in the last week or so.
That's true.
And you know what I mean? They're
Gonzalez night, remember?
That's right. Well, the point is that being a Dodger fan means that you know their strengths and their weaknesses too. You know,
yeah.
So you know, it's not like just he likes the Dodgers whenever the Dodgers play. I mean, so all right. So continue. I'm sorry.
I appreciate it. With all that, I actually think Kikuchi's a better pitcher than his price would indicate. I still think the Dodgers are one of the best slates with one of the worst bullpens behind him. I know they've been, I want to say streaky, but honestly, they've honestly been mostly pretty bad considering what, like from a DFS perspective, the Dodgers have been lately. But when they were good, they've been incredibly good. And there's so much power in this lineup. I mean, even last night, did they have 4 home runs or 3? Anyway, whatever. They're going to hit multiple bombs in most games. They've had, I know they had the 4 and 2 of the last 2 nights and killed people when they were chalky. But they were coming off 11, not 8, 6, 7, 11, 6. Like that's the offense that I think is more them. This is a good spot, I think, for them, even though Kikuchi, again, is not like the worst pitcher in baseball. But the Dodgers are the best offense in baseball, even though the stadium sucks for hitting. There's a reason the Dodgers have a 5.5 run total. And the way you can stack the Dodgers and be different is play the lefties who are good with power versus lefties. And those would be Seager, Seager, Bellinger, and Muncy, who all strike out against lefties, but they all have the same, like the power, not the same, but historically it's pretty damn close. So that's what you do. You mix in them, and that's what I've done with my main lineup so far is built a mini Dodgers stack, or not really mini, it's not a 5-man. And I think who's catching for the Dodgers matters. I think it's probably going to be Barnes. I don't know why they don't just give this job. This kid, Kelbert Ruiz, is going to be probably one of the best 3 catchers in baseball within the next 2 years. And he's got power, but not like a ton. He's more like this Molina type would be a good way to describe him. He's great defensively, and he's a good hitter. He's a good contact hitter too. So I would like him as the catcher if he's in the game. I'm less excited if it's Barnes, but I'm still willing to do it. In fact, I think it actually has to be Barnes tonight, so that's what it's going to be. But I do love this team, and I would start with, Mookie is the obvious top play. I think Pollock is going to be lower owned because he's had a couple of bust nights after everybody was in love with him again. So I think
he has. I haven't noticed that. He seems to have a home run every night. No.
Yeah, he went 0 and 3 the last 2 nights though. 0 for 4 and 1 for 4. And he was running before that, but he's not getting on base. So I like Pollock though. I think he might get overlooked, and I like Betts. There's just other people are going to play this guy Grisham. They're going to play Jesse Winker at cheap. So there might be less ownership on DraftKings than these guys than you think. So I'm going Pollock and Betts would be my favorite in the outfield, followed by Seager, and then who's ever their catcher. But I don't mind if you want to throw in Muncy or Bellinger. I'm just not going with the full 5-man because I like a couple other mini stacks a lot.
All right, what about Kershaw?
Yes, if you can try and find a way to get him and Bieber in. So he's got more upside than I think people think, just because they're like, oh, he can't strike anybody out anymore. And then last time out, he dominates the Angels, who are not a team that you'd think that he should fare well against. And he only struck out 6 in 7 innings, but that's a really tough lineup to get through. And he gave up 1 hit in 7 innings. This is the kind of team he could, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually, annoy him and do, get a run or 2 across. But I could also see him going 7 and literally not giving up anything, maybe 1 hit or something. This is not a lineup that you should be afraid of. So I could just see him dominating them. I just am having a hard time with the strikeout versus Bieber strikeout upside. Because even though I believe Kershaw does have double-digit upside, I think that Bieber's got 17, 18 upside. It's a better matchup. But I don't know, man. I think that I would still side with Bieber, but I probably will try to build one Bieber Kershaw lineup.
Yeah.
And on FanDuel, And Bieber's 12K on FanDuel. Like usually pitching.
That's what I'm saying.
So he's so he's 10-1. So that's 1,900 savings. You can make an argument that he could be better point per dollar over there for sure. I also think he gets through, even though Bieber's been incredible. I think Kershaw actually is just. He's not a guy who doesn't usually pitch like real quality starts. He had that one year where everybody hated him for DFS, but he had like 32 out of 33 quality starts or something. Anyway, I like him, but probably not enough to get to him on my main lineup.
All right. Boston, Baltimore. Okay. So here's the deal. So Eovaldi throws it 1,000 miles an hour. And he's been somewhat better. Baltimore has a history of being terrible, but recently they've been really, really good. So you have this situation where you get Eovaldi, who's probably going to get a decent amount of ownership, right? With his strikeouts, with people's desire to get to Bieber and stuff like that. And I have this weird feeling that that projection systems are not going to account for Baltimore's recent improvements. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I feel as though Eovaldi's going to be kind of overprojected as a result, and I feel Baltimore is going to be underprojected as a result. So I'm kind of leaning towards looking at the ownership, and if Eovaldi becomes really popular somehow because of the projection system, I might just go with Baltimore and go with the dumbass recency bias. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I know what I see. I mean, these guys are freaking pounding people. And I might try it. I'm not at Baltimore, my main shot yet, but I'm definitely thinking about it. And I don't think I'm going to do Eovaldi. I just don't think I'm going to do it. I think I'll find the money to do Bieber with Lamet or Bieber with somebody else rather than pay down for Eovaldi. That's where I think I'm going to go.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where ownership goes, because if it's not high on Eovaldi, I'm going to play a ton of Eovaldi. And
like we say, right? I mean, like
we say how great Baltimore is and everything like that. They've scored 3 runs or less in 3 of their last 6 games. It's not like we have to worry that much about these guys. I would point out that I think Anthony Santander is now the MVP in the American League at the moment.
Really? You think so, huh?
He's hitting 300 with 9 home runs. I mean, and there's no Aaron Judge is hurt.
Yeah, excuse me. I mean, like you're talking about the aside from Tim Anderson, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Tim Anderson just got back from the injured list. He has only played like a few games. Give him some time to warm up to the MVP.
Calling it the Tim Anderson Award. You know what I mean? Like they're not like.
I actually had the exact same instinct as you, though. This is one of those that also, I mean, not saying this about every game, but I would, if I was playing a lot more, I would like both sides of it. Especially this kid Santander, who just no one ever plays. And is he I think he's the highest scoring fantasy point.
Is that right?
He's actually,
well, aside from Tatis, isn't Tatis scoring like 30 a game?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, probably. Let me see what Tatis is at. He's ahead of Betts. I mean,
okay,
which is saying something. You know what I mean? Tatis. No, nobody's ahead of Tatis. Tatis is average.
So let's talk about something else, because Boston is another thing that's really confusing. Not confusing to me, because on the one hand, they probably rate to be a really top stack, or just on numbers, right? But second of all, once again, they're just not quite as good as they were. So I think the projections are just kind of overestimating them from when they were better. Second of all, I'm not saying this is going to be the case, but this pitcher for Baltimore, he's not like the nut low. Okay, first of all, he's actually pitched, if I'm not mistaken. Did he basically shut down Boston last year or something? There was some game.
I think
everybody stacked against him.
Against
he was a freaking gem.
Yeah, he's definitely done that before. By the way, I'm totally we're on the same page here. Boston, everybody can talk them up and say all this. When these guys are going to be one of the biggest chalks. Now, I want to pick on Baltimore. I love the hitting conditions in Baltimore. I love their beating up on their bullpen and their questionable starting pitching staff in general. But this is a team that had scored more than 6 runs once in their last 18 games. What are we doing at some point? You know what I mean? What are we doing just taking these numbers and treating this as if they're the same team? Now, if JD Martinez doesn't play especially, that probably will open up more value, which oddly might even make them more popular, and the numbers probably won't adjust, but it's going to hurt their lineup, man. And he's not going to play. So he's out. Yeah, no, he was just out yesterday. I don't know if he'll play today. Oh, it was dehydration. That's very strange. I don't know what he's going to do anyway. That's a strange thing to be out with. As a baseball player, must have been drunk. Anyway, I'm with you. I don't think you won't see some of these Boston guys, like one or two might pop up in a lineup, but shoot, I don't know. It would be on FanDuel, and it would be
Devers and Verdugo. It'd be the lefties, maybe Mitch Moreland, right?
It'd be Devers and Verdugo, not Moreland for me.
Oh, you're not a Moreland guy.
I mean, no, I am. I when it's the right thing. I liked Moreland a lot when he was a part of a good offense and he wasn't platooning.
Funny.
Not when he's a part of a bad offense and he is platooning. He is having a great year, though. Like, I mean, he's been like the one guy on this team who's been crushing the ball.
So you mentioned him. When we were talking about the MVP. But if you were going to play Baltimore bats, you'd start with Santander.
I just don't see how like this kid doesn't get more. He's been on fire too.
He's only 4,300. I mean,
he's a really I mean, Evaldi gives it bombs lefties. What do you want? Like seems like a perfect spot. Like he's hitting the ball as hard as anybody in baseball. He's the guy I would target. I don't know where else I would really go. I have a Chance Sisco theory that this kid's going to be a great hitting catcher, and we'll see if that pans out. I'd heard a lot about him before.
Who is this? And
I like his swing. Chance Sisco, the catcher for the Orioles. So he's expensive for a cat, like 3,700. I can never say it anywhere. Rio Ruiz has enough power to where you can play him, but it's just not an exciting stack to me. But those would be the guys I would start with.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Severino's in there too, so you don't get as much time out of Sisco. But whenever Sisco's in there, I perk up. Although Severino's also having a great year, they both are.
Okay. San Diego, Texas is my probably my second favorite. I like him better than Sonny Gray. I think he's my second. I think he's my second favorite. We can actually talk about that. Lamet for San Diego. I was trying to compare him to like Sonny Gray, like without getting to him first. I mean, he's I think he's here. I think that he has legitimate. I don't want to say consistency. He's working that out, but I mean, obviously he's still young, but he's got incredible upside against a team that can strike out. And I think that he's an elite play today. If there was no Bieber, he'd be like, if there were no Bieber, if there were like no Bieber on the slate, he'd be like a zillion % owned, I think.
I think he's going to end up being the highest owned player on the slate.
And he might be anyway, is what I was going to say. You know what I mean? So I do like him a lot. Again, we'll see how ownership comes in because there are other guys I just alluded to, not like one other guy that could also flash this type of upside. And that's what I was talking to you about before. I mean, Bieber, yeah, he has like nobody's got Bieber type upside, but if Bieber comes out and Pittsburgh is feisty and Bieber has a good game, right? And he pitches 6 innings and gets 24, 25 fantasy points, which is a good game, right? Yeah. I mean, you could have one of these guys that can outscore him on a raw points basis, which at that price is going to be really, really big. So I think Lamet is one of those guys, but I think that Sonny Gray, we get him, is one of those guys too. So I do like Lamet a lot. I don't like any of the hitters from Texas as a result. And hitting wise, I didn't really like. I wasn't really getting to San Diego too much today because I like Gibson enough that I don't want to attack him, but I just don't like him enough to play him, if that makes any sense, I suppose. You could always play, what's his name? You could always play Tatis because he's a freaking just freak of nature. But that's where I'm at. I mean, I really like Lamet, and I didn't really have that much interest in much of the hitting.
Yeah, this is weird for me because I still think that Kyle Gibson's pretty good, and yet everything in the world is telling me, everybody's saying play the Padres, are the best value on the slate, all this.
Is that right?
Oh, for sure, because you've got Cronenworth at 2,500 and you've got Grisham at 2,100, probably batting – 3,100, probably batting first and fifth. And then in between them, you've got the obvious guys you could try and build a stack with. That's not the way that the guy wants to stack with. He's so weird is what he is. Like, the one bad game he's had this year has been against Seattle. And then he goes into Colorado, and he actually pitched for Colorado, a great game. He only had 2 strikeouts. not talking about playing him here. I'm just talking about trying to figure out exactly why all this fascination other than the pricing with San Diego. He does struggle with a couple lefties, but these are not like exceptional lefties. Grisham and they're talented, young, whatever, but Grisham and Cronenworth. But I don't know. I'm struggling with it. I'm trying to find every way in the world to fade Lamet, and I think there's actually some cases for it. And I'm going to try.
Absolutely.
So it's Joey Gallo, Shin-Soo Choo, and there's a couple other bats in here that have a pretty decent walk rate, but nobody exceptional. Those are exceptional guys in terms of their walk rate. Lamet's problem is he can lose his control sometimes.
Yep.
And he doesn't pitch. His other problem is he doesn't really pitch very – now it looks like you could look at, so he pitched 6 2/3. He'll pitch deep into games. That'll happen if you're throwing 75 pitches and you've got 11 strikeouts.
Right.
It's not that they won't let him throw 90 pitches because they will. But he hasn't really – the one patient team he faced, the Dodgers – what did they do? It's not they scored a ton of runs on him, but he had 2 strikeouts in 5 2/3 because patient teams can give him trouble, and then he'll be forced to throw it more over the plate. That's why I just feel like, I don't know, Texas has been terrible. I'm just trying to find a way to fade what I think is going to be crazy chalk. And if it's not, you really should just be playing him. It's a great matchup. I don't really know what else to say.
Yeah, but you could play, but like you said, you could play Bieber and Evaldi if you want.
That's what I think I'm leaning a little bit towards, because I think what could happen is I'm looking at more like Evaldi could end up with 20 fantasy points tonight, and so could Lamet, and I would be thrilled with that, obviously.
Yeah, but the point that you make the point you made was very valid, in that if he's not at his best, it's going to be because he's wild, right? And if he's wild, he can end up with 3 fantasy points. You know what I mean? Like you don't need – it's not like 20 is the guy's floor. You know what I mean? And we've seen this before with him. You know, a couple of starts, was it last year, whatever it was, he went off huge chalk, and he was just an atrocity, right?
Now, here's the first time someone's ever said this, although maybe somebody's probably said it on Roto-Grinders yesterday. This is the first time ever that Texas is getting a stadium upgrade by going to San Diego for hitting. So that's kind of funny. I just don't understand the totals in this game. I mean, to be honest, I just looked at the spread. I just don't understand why San Diego is such a massive favorite. I understand that Lamet, but why are they favored to score so many runs against Gibson? I just don't get it.
I don't know.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not playing. You know what? You want to play
Cronenworth or Grisham?
You want to play Cronenworth? I mean, like, he's basically free. It's kind of hard to debate that one with you.
Yeah, I have no problem.
It's going to be huge own, but whatever. I mean.
Yeah, and Trent Grisham, I know, is a talented young guy, but my house is loaded.
Yeah, I don't even play him.
Let's move over to Cincy.
All right, so Cincinnati, St. Louis, and this is another guy. You know, Sonny Gray is another guy with big strikeout upside. He's actually, controls power too. I mean, with his sinker, I mean, he's really, really good. So, I mean, if you want to fade Lamet, you could certainly go play Sonny Gray. Or if you want fade Bieber, you could play Sonny Gray and Lamet. Or if you want, so Sonny Gray is legitimate pivot off of this stuff. And this is not like a particularly off the wall pivot. I'm sure people are going to play him. You know what I mean? Like, he's better play on DraftKings than FanDuel, but he certainly has upside. And look, St. Louis, they were off a week without, with coronavirus, and they probably are prone to not be 100% healthy anyway, right? So Sonny Gray is certainly in play for me. I don't like Wainwright. I don't think I've ever played him. Did he win a Cy Young at some point? I mean, he used to be obviously really, really good. Yeah, but I don't really play him. I didn't quite get. I was listening to the thing. I didn't quite get I really didn't quite get to the Reds in my analysis of what teams I wanted to kind of look for. Yeah, maybe just because, I just like the other ones better. I wasn't going to play that many lineups. I mean, I guess you could make cases for, but I mean, Wainwright, it's not like he's a freaking garbage can. You know what I mean? Like, he still has probably good control and can limit damage. I don't know.
He gets treated like one in the DFS world, and I've never exactly understood why, because I can't remember more than maybe one time him having one of those kind of, crazy games. But, like, it is a good lineup against him. They should score some runs. But he's been pretty good this year, and I'm going to decide more with that. This is good hitting weather. I have to say, though, Sonny Gray, if you look at the consistency, I mean, these numbers that he puts up are no joke. To have and this was happening last year too.
Yep.
I mean, is he maybe being over? Like, if he gets overlooked, I think I might just switch everything to him because this guy's just.
I would have no problem playing him over Lamet if, in fact, there was, let's say, it was the ownership was like 30-10 or something like that, or even worse, even less, even 30-15. I would play Gray at half the ownership probably.
Yeah, and I think what you said matters more from a mental standpoint than it does from a physical thing with the St. Louis hitters. I think hitters hit, but like, I think they've probably been warming up and stuff. I think it's just gonna feel weird. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure, but I think there might be something enough to where maybe it could push you over the top. He's definitely right there, man. Again, I didn't have him in my original build, but I could totally see shifting. I would add that this is like really good hitting weather in St. Louis, but that doesn't necessarily matter if a guy's going to get strikes. I don't have the pitcher data, so maybe that could lean things one way a little later on.
You like it? Okay, so we talked about the
Empire. Yeah.
I do think that what's his name is kind of cheap. Among others, Jesse Winker at 3,400, particularly cheap.
Yeah, he's the guy, the one I like.
Winker.
Yeah, just the price is good. The price is right, and he's got a little bit of pop. And I'm not afraid of Wainwright in this spot. Like, it's
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
All right, Arizona, Oakland.
Jesus, Winker. I didn't even realize Winker was putting up these. I hadn't seen his numbers exactly. Jesus.
Wainwright?
No, Winker.
Yeah.
This guy has just been. He's homered at least once in 5 of the last 7 games, and one of those was a 2-homer game. Jesus. That's red hot. This is Anthony Santander stuff. Some might even say Tim Anderson stuff.
Oh, don't. Let's not get carried away here.
Oh, you're gonna know what I was doing before now. And the team I like the most today.
Okay, so I am not particularly interested in either of the pitchers in the Oakland Arizona game, but definitely interested in the A's. They were one of the top 4 teams I was going to play against, and remember yesterday I was thinking of playing them. Then I saw I got all these righties, and I'm like, I'd rather play them, maybe against a lefty or something. And here we are, right? So I guess without even looking, Matt Chapman would be someone I would probably want to start with. And you tell me, am I allowed to play Olsen even though lefty versus lefty?
Yeah.
I kind of don't want to not play him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I basically, when I'm looking at like the lineup, it says here Olsen like L, and then everything else is an R. So I think it's probably a really good place to start. Chris Davis 3,900, Conha 3,700. I don't know if he's going to play Piscotty. I mean, this is
Canna's the guy.
5 guys in this team, no?
Yeah, Canna's the guy you'd want. I mean, look,
okay.
Chris Davis it's looking pretty grim. But, he can
But every time you say he looks looking grim, he does something for you.
I mean, he's only hit 1 home run this year, maybe 2. I don't know. I don't know, man. I haven't played him in a while. He hasn't been playing against righties, and the fact that he's like platooning now is painful. And Robbie Grossman's been really good, so I don't know if he's even going to make the lineup tonight. I think he will, but somebody else might not. So just keep an eye out for this lineup. I think the preferred plays for me are Chapman number 1. Number 2 is Olsen. I love Olsen and lefty. It doesn't – because I don't care. Olsen is going to strike out or hit home runs. That's what we play him for. The guy's hitting 143, but he's got 8 home runs. That's what we're playing him for. We're playing him for the home runs. I'll take that home run. I'll take that all day. So I'm very into him. I'm very into those two. And then I like Canna a ton. He's one of the best. He's to me one of the best values in the outfield, and he's been good this year. Laureano is a little bit more expensive. You can go to Laureano or Simeon. Definitely makes sense in stacks and Pinder. I just don't think that, and you can use Murphy as your catcher. All of them make sense. Piscotty as well. I'm just probably mostly focusing on those 3, Canna, Olsen, and Chapman, and then I'll mix in Murphy, Simeon, Pinder, Piscotty, or Davis.
Okay. So this could be our tagline, right? So if you didn't like any of that,
I think it is Raglan. I think you already owned it.
Yeah, if you didn't like any of that, if you didn't feel like taking a shot at Evaldi with strikeout upside, right, at a cheap price, against a hot team, if you didn't want to do that, you could take a shot at Bobby's one of his old MVPs, at Kevin Gausman. He actually put up a ceiling game in the last couple of starts, didn't he?
Really well in both of his last 2 starts, and he pitched really well in every game that he started. Like, he came out of the bullpen in the first game against the Dodgers, I believe.
Yeah, so I'm actually kind of into him. You know what I mean? And especially if Evaldi becomes chalky, I'm definitely into Gausman here. I have a feeling he's going to get owned a little bit.
I think Gausman's going to be owned. I don't think Evaldi's going to be owned. Like,
oh, really? Okay, that's interesting.
I don't know. I'm looking at the projected run totals, and I got to tell you that Vegas likes Gausman too.
Okay.
I'm kind of interested in this. I've always been waiting for this guy to sort of put it together, and now you get him against a team with really only like one lefty that scares you.
Yeah.
And that's always been his weakness, especially from a walking perspective. And that's his big problem, control, and then he gives up home runs.
But the good thing about Gausman is he doesn't have that hitch in his delivery, so that Ohtani doesn't have the edge over him this time.
By the way, I really wish I would have played more, but I did play some, and that was awesome last night. I think he's actually a good pitcher. I really do. I don't care. At me later. This is an interesting game. I'm really surprised at the spread in this game. I actually think that, like, Gausman is I think by the end of the day, that's probably where I end up going for my second starting pitcher if I'm paying down. And honestly, like, we're going to see something tonight because the stadium's designed to have built wind that's blowing out specifically out to center field and in from center field. And with this new thing, we haven't had like a huge gusting one, but I've heard it could get up to 20, 25 miles an hour tonight. And from all the people who are weather people that I've read, which is really just 2 people, they said that it shouldn't make much of a difference. Basically, that it should be able to play like it used to. Just in case it doesn't, I don't mind if you want to throw in a couple of San Francisco bats. I think that they have some interesting righties. I think Wilmer Flores is – I don't care whether Cardi or anybody in the world says that it doesn't matter lefty-righties. This dude hits lefties. He always does. He comes through for me every time at 1% ownership. He did it yesterday for me. No reason he couldn't do the same thing again. Hunter Pence is 3K. I'm not saying stack this team, but these guys are so cheap. Austin Slater's 3.2. Darren Ruff is 2.8. Evan Longoria is 3.6. I don't want to stack this game, but I could definitely see using multiple 2-man combinations from this game, from the San Francisco side. I'm not very interested in the Angels side.
Yeah, this was the other one, by the way. I swapped. Actually, one of the other swaps that worked out yesterday from FanDuel was I actually swapped to Flores, and he ended up hitting that home run. It didn't really. Yeah. I thought about San Francisco as the latest of night hammers. You know what I mean? Like, they rate to be maybe the last team up of everybody if the Angels are winning.
Right.
So it's not enough lineups for me to get to them. But but like you said, man, Hunter Pence is 3K.
Yeah, there's a value to playing. Like, you don't need this. That's why you could play like a 3-man stack from there, and you're using that as your value savers. But then if the whole stack goes off, don't worry, no one's going to be playing the stack that much anyway. And you don't need that much from these guys. Like, they get you 25 combined fantasy points at their prices. Then your main line lineup or whatever you're doing with the rest of your lineup, that's going to dictate the rest of the story. But they also offer you the upside by playing them as a little mini stack because we like them in this spot. And I'm not a buyer in the Angels bullpen. We don't know what's going to happen with this Ruiz. So, Suarez. I think it's interesting. It's the first time all year that I've said I'm into the Giants.
Dude, if they're hitting really 5th and 6th, you get the Flores Pence mini stack.
Yeah, you get the Flores Pence mini stack. You also get. I actually think Flores will probably bat like 3rd though.
Okay.
But you could throw like they might move Darren Ruff up in the lineup. I mean, I know he's been terrible in the major league so far, but was a KBO monster. And he's 2.8K against the lefty. So there's your little saver stack that you can use them, or you can use the San Diego guys, and these are going to be the low.
The more I'm looking at these hitting these hitting options, like for example, the more I actually feel as though I really do want to pay up for Bieber. While like some of these options are okay, like these hitting guys that we that we talked about, like none of the things that we talked about really just are stuff you have to have. Like there's no cores, there's no, given that, I mean, I am probably going to end up, paying up for Bieber, and maybe the idea is just chalking out with Bieber, Lamet, and then just doing some craziness with the hitting. Cause like there's very little difference between a lot of the hitting teams that we talked about. Like you could get like a lot of value out of the Oakland guys. You could maybe do like something with those San Francisco guys. It's not like you're giving up a lot of opportunity costs by not having, I don't know who.
But
you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm worried about.
If you're worried about chalk on your main lineup, like let me just remind you, when the Dodgers were 1,000,000% owned the other night against the lefty, Corey Seager was like 6% owned.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they're going to be higher than that tonight. Don't get me wrong, because it's a little bit smaller slate. But you're going to get, so you do that. You play Seager or Muncy in your stacks, or you play, and then on your Oakland, if you're going to stack Oakland, use Olsen. Like he's going to be the lower owned other than Chapman and Canna and all those guys. So you can differentiate there. That's just what I would recommend doing on those. I do think people are going to flock completely to Boston. I just have that feeling, especially on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, they still might do it. And if they feel like they need to have that offense, I'm just ready to go. Okay.
What offense? Like you're saying, what's so good about Boston, right?
Nothing. I mean, from all the evidence says they are like literally one of the 5 worst teams in baseball, maybe the worst team in baseball. So,
well, it's as good as bad as their hitting is. I mean, there's just nothing worse than their bullpen. I mean, that's a disaster.
I don't know. Their starting pitching might be pretty close. It's pretty bad. You have no Chris Sale, no Eduardo Rodriguez because of COVID. Like they lost a lot. You know what I mean? Anyway.
And then the sick thing is when Boston's actually upset that Rodriguez isn't there. That's not good.
Yeah.
He's terrible.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna get out of here. It's a getaway day. I want to remind everybody of that. So make sure that you do check your lineups. I know that there's no travel. Well, there's still travel, but I know that's not the same as it used to be. But they still, we have seen guys. I've already seen 7 different names that weren't supposed to be in the lineups today pop up.
Saw that
because that's what happens on Thursdays. So just remember that. You make sure your guys are in your lineups before you submit, or before for luck. Anyway, Sheets, anything else for the people before we get out?
Nope, we're good.
All right, good luck, everybody. Keep hanging in there, and we will see you at the top of the leaderboards.